Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief Recap. Um, kind of pity you guys in the public because I'm not doing as many of these daily briefs and recaps as I used to. So when I actually do come on and do a daily brief, it turns into a 2 hour verbal orgy. So as you can see, it's already 20 past 11 here. I basically spent the past 2.5 hours daily briefing and literally covering everything under the sun. Including a nice big fat, I think about 10-20 minute rant at the beginning of the episode about how utterly disappointed I am in our society and the people that are driving the bus and how they've really set us humans up for failure here. It's not really fair, but it is what it is. We got to somehow just get through this. I suppose the good part about having the freedoms in the West to be able to even take risks and be able to enjoy things like private property ownership gives us the ability to try and navigate our way through this mess. On balance, you're probably well served having a nice diversified portfolio. Don't hold too many eggs in one basket. You probably remember your mom telling you that when you were a kid. Spread the jelly. That's another great expression. You know exactly what asset is going to be the big winner at the end of all this. Bit of a mugs game. But I do see that the fiat currency system is running on fumes. So as a result, the cryptocurrency community, I think to a certain degree, has the wind at its back. The only question I would have here is, do they do anything that's just going to piss off sort of the 1%? If the 1% feels as though they are being left behind, then they'll just bring a grinding halt to this rally and hit the reset button. You know, fascinating Bitcoin here, for example, is 50, 60 Gs. And just a year or so ago, Jamie Dimon, president and CEO of JP Morgan, while the news headlines were coming out that JP Morgan was settling lawsuits of fraud from the 2008 financial crisis, publicly came out and said on a public talk show, Bitcoin is a fraud. And he said it with like a, brutally stark statement to try and really drive it home with the public. I sure hope his daughter still owns those Bitcoins that she bought way back when, and her dad didn't fuck her over and get her to panic sell when the 1% really just pulled the carpet out from underneath Bitcoin's feet there a couple of years ago. I have a feeling that they got away with it again. If you can somehow try and force yourself to buy value and try and understand what value is, you will be on the right side of this story. But that means don't chase, don't chase, don't chase. Because when you chase and the 1% does, either they've made a ton of money and they now need to clean things up, or they feel like they got left behind, they will knock markets down, and they will knock them down very hard. Good part about where we are right now is we're actually in the uppy part of this cryptocurrency space market cycle. And we actually spent a lot of time today going through various different studies that are all sort of corresponding to somewhere, I guess, up around 2030. Well, 200. I think, what was our number that our study came out with? 283,000 or some crazy number. And that's actually going back and reviewing crazy studies like these exponential growth curves and 4-year cycles and Feigenbaum levels. So, you're not in the part of the market where you have to worry about Joey Diamond coming along and trying to fuck you. which I suppose is good. But at the same time, too, are you buying value here if you actually come in and buy a Bitcoin at 50, 60 Gs? I don't think so, folks. I mean, value, in my opinion, is way down here. But having said that, that doesn't mean jack shit. You know, when you get into these frothy, uppy market states, this market, there's an old expression in the market can remain illogical farther and longer than anyone can remain solvent. So don't get in the business of calling tops or bottoms. If and when a big fat M comes in here, then we'll know that it's done, but I don't see any M's yet. And if I wanted to, quote unquote, invest in Bitcoins, I have to wait for things like reload zones and cost of production modeling from current equipment and stuff like that. So just be forewarned. This image, if anything, the way I would look at this is you're too late to buy, and it's probably too early to sell. So not really much I can tell you in regard to that. Interestingly, though, you know, there are a lot of these shit coins, poop coins, whatever the hell you want to call them, that are actually making these kind of W's that you saw Bitcoin do last year. They're doing this kind of activity right now as we speak. So I personally think if there's like just insane, ridiculous money to be made in this space, it's names like this Nemerite. I mean, I don't know what the hell these guys do, but I forced myself to come in and buy against the bottom end of ranges. This is versus Bitcoin. You can imagine what this thing looks like versus US dollar. Ay caramba! Forced myself to come in and buy against bottom ranges, and I suppose as they keep taking this thing higher, I'll just keep spoon feeding. But what I do, which is kind of fun, is I buy these things versus Bitcoin. When everybody and their brother in the public is kind of like, shitcoins are garbage. They're garbage. Don't buy them. Well, if I start seeing W's come in with that kind of market sentiment, I'm going to come in on these things hard. So anyway, I mean, there's a great analogy of what I do as a trader. And for whatever it's worth, I have a sell half on a double order working at about 15 and change. And so I might just be banging out more doubles as we work our way higher. You know, look at this crazy waves. Woohoo! You know, we did a statistical study. You could have bought Bitcoin on the middle of March when Germans were going absolutely nuts. They're telling you you're going to make a fortune or you're going to miss out if you don't buy. Or you could have gone and bought this Russian cryptocurrency. It's funny how I make a German and a Russian reference in the same sentence. But, you know, March 25th, you go and buy this thing. I'm not endorsing Waves. Waves is a funny story unto itself. But this damn thing's moved up. It's doubled in that same window. So you can take your 5-10% from Bitcoin, or you could go and play in the shitcoins and buy W's and boom, double your money. That's up to you, folks. I'm not telling you one way or the other. If anything, what I like to do, I'll never tell you what to buy. You all should know that. I will never, ever, ever tell you what to buy. But, you know, I thought it was kind of cool. The other day I saw this W come in here, and while I was in the middle of one of these videos, I went, holy shit, I gotta buy that. And I bought it, and it seems to be working okay now. So what I like to do on the site is I like to be a demonstrator of best practices. If you decide to do the trade with me, great, wonderful, awesome. No guarantees on the management, and I can unequivocally tell you I will be explicitly wrong 30 to 40% of the time. Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. So live by the sword, die by the sword, have some fun with the sword. But don't get stuck by the sword. Don't take too big of bets. Right? Keep the bets small. Be realistic with your profit objectives. All right, market talk. It's Friday. It's a weekly options expiry. The stock market boys are pretty well served here looking at the options analysis, taking the market out around 410 here. I think they're more than happy. Probably not too much higher because there are a bunch of call options here. Not staggering numbers, in tens of thousands. So they don't want to pay those call purchasers too much. So I'd imagine it, ironically enough, if they took the market out right where we are right now, I think it's a massive win for the Wall Street boys. US dollar kind of in drifting mode after basically what, about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sessions, or about a week and a half of down. We're now finally coming back down, filling in gaps. Actually, haven't even filled that in yet. Might see that gap get filled in Monday morning, something like that. That wouldn't surprise me. Nothing really new to do here. Huge trading range. Probably have to wait for a new M or W to get a real solid signal one way or the other. Also, too, politically, I think that Mr. Biden, of course, is up against the wall trying to get his new stimulus package passed. And if the stock market is as strong as it is, it's going to have a hard time. So I think to a certain degree there's that big political football floating out there. Also, too, not quite sure why. Is it a manufactured excuse? Who knows? Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. But mysteriously, things are hotting up very quickly in Eastern Europe. So much so that a Russian military guy the other day said there is a very realistic possibility that the country of Ukraine itself no longer exists very shortly. So when they start talking like that, to me, that sounds like they already have a plan in place. And considering, of course, now Mr. Putin would love to stick it to Mr. Biden and his son on the Ukrainian gas board of directors, I'm sure Mr. Putin would love to walk into downtown Kiev, pick up the share certs for that natural gas proxy and say this is now officially Russian property. Fuck you, Mr. Biden. I could see that happening. So tense. We haven't really seen a head-to-head military confrontation in Europe in a very long time. So we'll see how that goes. I can't really tell how serious Mr. Putin is about this push here, but I wouldn't be surprised if Ukraine's back in the spotlight here for the next few years. It was interesting. We went through on the dashboard. We went through. I love this tool. It absolutely perfectly sort of typifies the kind of market state. I mean, look at that S&P 500 breadth. That is a choppy, rangy market that's going to drive the trend following people crazy as it tries to figure out whether it's an up or down market in the States. And of course, they've got lots of new cases coming out. Mr. Biden now is turning up the temperature there around the world militarily. Interesting, my Lockheed Martin trade is just kicking ass right now. So I guess they're anticipating having to go and build new fighter jets and missiles and shit. So something big, it seems to me, is brewing there. Now, it might just be posturing. Let's hope it is. But you never know in this crazy world. A little concerned that the bonds are starting to waver a little bit from overbought conditions. That might help the stock market firm up a bit. Probably the biggest message. Now, it was interesting, out of the currencies, one thing I noticed that the currencies are still very, very weak versus the US dollar. But you can kind of see risk is starting to get up. Remember we saw crypto was on its knees there the other day. Crypto now is actually leading the charge back up top. So, and I've often said that I like crypto as a leading indicator in the risk space. So I suppose that's a good sign. If the bonds are sort of topping out and kind of, they're stabilizing, they're not in free fall anymore. They can just sort of clean themselves up, go sideways a little bit. That should help the stock market a little bit. But it is interesting on sort of a more medium term. We are seeing signs that the bond market, the gold market, the yen, they kind of want to come back here. So with that said, currencies kind of in a with the US dollar still very, very strong. Stocks up against top end of the range, but the breadth, kind of junior market, like the whole stock market, very not really a hell of a lot going on there. Not banging out any doubles in stock land today, kind of thing. I'm curious about how the oil acts here, because interestingly enough, we had a pretty big build in unleaded gasoline supplies. And of course, that's such an excellent commentator on the consumer. And of course, in this COVID world, are people going to be driving much? I don't think so. Interstate travel down in the States? Not that much. Not as much. So, risk did try to rally here. You know, the corn's lifting, stocks lifting, oil stuck. And I've often said in the past, you know, the oil market, it is sort of the leading indicator in the risk space. And it's having a hard time getting going here. So that's more of that sort of, you know, Malaise kind of market. Also, too, it's kind of interesting. You know, we run a day trader room at TRI, and the day traders, they were all they were actually, it was kind of cute. I was watching them. They kept trying to fade this rally here because, you know, we had this M top, and so they were selling against the highs. And we had one hell of a battle here in the market. Oh, look at that. My target was hit. Son of a bitch. Right in here. And our pro day trader guy, Karan, who runs our level 2 education program, he was fading this, and it just wouldn't catch. It wouldn't catch. And he's like, fuck it, man. I'm out of here. I think he took like 1 or 2 tick profit or something. And then all of a sudden the news hit. What was the news? Elizabeth's husband, Prince Charles, I think his name, Prince Philip, I don't know, passed away. And I've often found that, you know, if you're in sort of a downward pointing market and they're really trying to juice it to the downside and it's just not catching, and then all of a sudden you get news about somebody dying. And I, you know, through the Daily Brief, I told him the story about UK politicians. It was a really interesting trade that happened years ago on that. And literally anybody who was shorting just was like, whoa, I'm on pause. And then, of course, anybody who was originally buying, they sort of, you know, got the ball, if you will, and these bot setups worked, and sure enough, doink, hit a price objective there. So also, too, this sets up, now remember we said there's a huge open interest on like the 410 put or call options. So I think to all intents and purposes, that's probably your top. And then we went after the stops. You can see they just ran the stops up top, and now in come the M's. So put it all together, dull market, news that's not really economic driving sort of sentiment right now. I actually think you might find that the whole world goes into sort of like a week of mourning of Philip and how wonderful of a person he was, blah, blah, blah. What's going to happen to the royals in UK and all that kind of stuff. I think that's going to dominate the broader market here, which means that I don't think you're going to see a lot of selling and not a lot of volatility. Anyway, we'll see what happens. That's my hunch. For you guys, so like I said, risk on, well bid, but yeah, that's probably as much as I'd want to see there. Crude oil, it actually was interesting. There was actually a bearish bot setup that's actually still valid and working right now there. It's a bit of an odd for risk on to be so disconnected there. Bonds tried to rally up and break out, couldn't. Again, news of Philip, everybody just stopped. Same thing with the gold. The gold trade was rocking. I actually like this risk off trade. It looks right. But the problem here is I think that this is, and I've said this to you guys in these free videos recently, is I think this is a dead cat bounce within the context of a larger bear. So I do like the bond market sort of calming down, us stopping to talk about runaway inflation. But then as we head into the fall, I think that conversation comes back. And this is actually the window that I think that all these commodities and commodity currencies and commodity currency countries through this fall and into the end of 2022, this is when we expect Bitcoin to go absolutely insane. You know, I think that this is probably the end of the low interest rate world, and we start transitioning back into, gee whiz, interest rates are going up, and they are going up in a hurry. And also, too, this whole, you know, once we get it, I hear universal basic income conversations are coming back out, but once we get into a world where these third world nations, and really I might even argue Canada and Australia, could potentially head into that kind of camp as well. Once we get back into a world where debt and debt levels and servicing those debt as a percentage of GDP is rising and it's cutting into government budgets deeply, they start crowding out the public from the financing market, so that means mortgage rates start going up, then I could very easily see this whole sort of facade of this real estate overdevelopment finally come to an end in these countries. But we'll see how it goes. As for now, like I said, actually I like the idea of the bond market calming down here a little bit, believe it or not. So anyway, we'll see how it goes. Junior stock market, nothing. No banging out doubles today. Did actually do a little bit of buying on some names that are coming against bottom ends of ranges, but nothing really earth-shattering. Corn, I showed you that waves, good example. You could have come in all full of piss and vinegar here and bought the corn anywhere through here. It really hasn't moved a hell of a lot. Are we getting ready for a new leg higher? Maybe, but I'm skeptical. I do like the idea that the market works higher into that Coinbase IPO on the 14th. But on the other side of that, I'm not quite sure what the fundamental justification for pumping this market up is. So I did notice also too that this sort of enthusiasm in the crypto stock space seems to be waning a bit. So you can see here is a talk through of sort of the metals as sort of that same sort of dead cat bounce play by the bonds and the risk off assets over the next, I don't know, let's call it 6 months. Like I said there earlier, I mean, you can see there's a bit of red on the spec space. There are a couple really interesting ones. Look at this little GOVX. I mean, I'm already long, so I don't want to buy any more. But good looking little W there. Not bad. Other than that, though, it's tough to find names that actually look like they're breaking out. There was one other one I think I remember. Anyway, it doesn't matter. What did I want to show you? Wanted to show you crypto stocks. Where are crypto stocks? Here we are. Interesting. ETFs are up, but the big sort of spec stock plays are down. Novogratz. What a hero. I'm sure all of his stock. I was long and I bailed when it bought here, and he stepped in and bought 10 at $1. So that $10,000 for him just turned into $300,000. Way to go, Slick. I'm in names like Mara. I'll keep spoon feeding. But actually, one that's a sleeper in this space. I love this SRAX, but I don't know whether I could buy that here or not now. That could be another one of sort of like Novogratz kind of names. I can't really even look at names like this. Like, we bought this thing way down here. So here, and really, I hate to say it, that sort of is a great analogy of what I think, what happens on the other side of that 14th is this thing probably comes back down and cleans itself up a bit. So be careful. I like the buy the rumor and then sell the news scenario on the other side of this event. So the cool part about that, of course, is that that's in about a week or so. So is there anything that we can do between now and then? Stock markets? Probably not, because this really doesn't really have anything to do with stock markets. Crypto? Oh, but of course. So crazy ass crypto. Corn? You gonna get a 10x on corn here over the next week? I doubt it. But poop coins? Man, this is poop coin shining time. Obviously this is going to be entirely predicated on what your trading plan is. And of course, there's no way in hell I could come in and buy that there. Oh, isn't that interesting? Where is 16.88 then? No, doesn't show. Let's try that again. There it is. Should come up there. Maybe it's way up top. Oh, there it is. Way up there. Does the poops have to head up to this 1688? I don't know, maybe. Seems a little bit much, but we did run into 877. You can see chaos, and then, nope, we want higher. This is clearly nosebleed. Can't buy that there. But there's tons of these little ones, like I showed you that Nimmerite, and this is what I was walking through on the video here today. I mean, there's lots of these little W's, and you could always work reload zone bids. And, this is a before the trade kind of picture. And it was kind of fun because I had one that basically performed that looked exactly like this. So that's the before picture. That's the before I'm thinking about buying. And here's an example of the after picture. Actually, I think it's over here. Boom. So same logic. W's, big rallies, pullbacks into reload zones. Brian forces himself on a buying program, and I got a double off the other day. So now I got all my original Bitcoins back in my pocket. So if Bitcoin wants to go to 100 G's, wonderful. And now I have a free position established in this name. I don't know what the hell it's going to do, but free is free is free. And that's the way I like to sort of run my business of trading. And I'm just sort of picking them off as they come along here. This Geo is probably going to start getting up into double areas because I forced myself to buy in against here. Actually, and I did this even, like I said, I won't tell you what to buy, but here's a great example of one that I saw on the charts, and I was like, fuck it, man, I want this. And I just went and bought it while I was on the air. I mean, it's not really doing anything right now, but I'm feeling okay. Lots of trend continuation trades. Here's a bullish bot setup that's just working away. And we were even in the daily brief saying, hey, if you're a trader, what you have to do, you got to hunt these, watch the setups come in. Then, of course, if this is in your trading plan, you got to buy. And you got to live with the results, whatever the hell happens. But they're setting up. This is 20. Target's 37, 38 almost. I mean, gee whiz, that's almost doubling your money. Is Bitcoin likely to double here in price in the next month or so? I don't think so. But could I see over like the weekend somebody say something crazy about this thing and it pops up top here? Believe it or not, that actually isn't too unrealistic. And that DeFi market, after a while it's, made higher lows. So that's interesting. It's interesting too how we drew this sort of 2/3 the apex of this triangle. You can see we're coming into an event window. Now we either put in some sort of W, and you can see already the smatterings of an inside bar, and we start working our way higher, or we go and M out, and after that Coinbase IPO, then I think this stuff has to come back down. But that's not today. So as it stands right now, still think we can work our way up into this AB equals CD. And if this thing gets a head of steam behind it, watch out. I don't know where the hell the top is here. Maybe we do have to top out all the way up at bot targets up here. That's totally possible. Seen that happen before. And then we M out and crap out. Seen that happen before too. So, pick your poison. This isn't a trade I'd be interested in. But something like that, Adam, I mean, it's just sitting there, Cosmos. No idea what the hell these guys do. And if you start getting things like momentum signals validating the setup, you can see I even justified pulling the trigger here. This is a really good example where, all right, I had all my reasons, I pulled the trigger, and now what am I supposed to be doing? The answer is nothing. It's just working. You're long from bots. You got your stop below all these key lows. 1 low, 2 lows, 3 lows, 4 lows, 5 lows, 6 lows. And you're going to take profits all the way up there. Right? You can move your stop unappropriate level tests. But right now, it's just sitting there working. I see a lot of trades that look exactly like this. So there's your market state. And, once my general message to people is once this, it's 11:48 Pacific AM here. My market closes, the retail stock market closes at 1 p.m. And my hunch is whatever moves you're going to see happen in crypto, they won't start until the adults have officially left the building. Then probably if this is a bull, over the next 3 or 4 hours as we sort of move into the Asian sort of Saturday session, then we'll start to see the fireworks. So be prepared. Get those setups vetted. Get your levels identified. Obviously have a trading plan. Take appropriate risks. So I think there could be a nice little trade window here for you. Look at that little W. This is one that our algo just spit up a buy signal on. You tell me. Damn, look at that W. Jeez. So, there you go. That's your market. Sure hope you got some value out of that. I'm feeling very ranty today. So even a nice little 10-minute summary seemed to drag on to about a half hour, 45 minutes. All right. Hope you got some value out of all that. Have yourselves a great day. All the best. And bye for now.